Hello guys, hello. I welcome you all to another new live stream. So today it's not similar to what we generally do. What we commonly do is solving a contest or explaining some topic or simply upsolving of a like previously held contest or contest explanations. But today is the most requested stream, I can say. Many people have asked me a lot of doubts regarding CP, and also there were and DSA, and also a lot of difficulties I faced when I started to learn, which was like 3 years ago. All those combined, I have picked some questions through my Instagram where I posted, and also my own experiences. Based on that, we'll go on from topic to topic, like what is the most basic thing. Uh, For example, how much time will it take to like learn DSA or competitive programming, or which language is best? From there to even like something which is very needed, how to optimize, how to check for time, like time limit exceeded, all those things we will check it. So what we are gonna do is we'll go question by question. If any of you guys have any questions, you can ask in the chat also. I'll come to them in the last. So everyone's like the most asked question first, like the first question will be, how much time will it actually take? How long will it take to learn CP? So basically, obviously, there you might see a lot of videos on internet, lot of people flaunting in LinkedIn and all, saying that you learn this 5 patterns in 5 days. It will be enough for you guys to get placed, or this is the end of DSA, saying learn 5 topics, that is the end. There will be a lot of videos you will see, but that honestly that is not how it works. There is no overnight shortcut for DSA or competitive programming. It was actually a very long consistent progress process. And then how it should go is, if you focus every day for 2 or 3 hours, it will take you 6 months to be very efficient enough to reach a level of expert, or to reach a level of at least a specialist, like 1500 in code forces. You could very easily reach in 6 months with proper practice, with everyday focused practice regularly and staying consistent over it. So for example, how will you divide it basically is, if so basically if I divide it into three phases, first phase it will take you 2 to 4 weeks, like 15 days to 30 days, 1 month you can keep for it. Here you have to learn the basics, like basics, which includes a programming language and what are arrays, stacks, queues, syntax, very important, syntax of the programming language, and like how memory and all works, and the basics and of like even the basics of what is time complexity, what is memory complexity. All this you have to learn in the basics. And then going to the phase 2, if we go to phase 2, in phase 2 what you will have to majorly focus, for phase 2 it will be a little long term, we can take 2 to 3 months, which is 60 to 90 days. So here what you will focus is, you will focus on main DSA topics, like the initial DSA topics like linked lists, stacks, queue, or even other topics like the basic trees, and the most important binary search. All this, and then math, very important, math, the basic math, puzzles, logic, and all that things. Other things like, if for example hashing is there, two pointers approach, pointers, all that things you learn here. Not writing everything. Pointers, hash, these initial topics you learn here. And with this you will be almost to a level where if it's a very like easy, mid to easy interview, you could crack it. Easy mid interview, you would easily crack it with whatever this initial stuff you have learned. Now we'll go to the phase 3, the mastering of CP phase. So in phase 3 what you will do is, you will go for all the advanced topic, that is everyone's favorite, dynamic programming, graphs, and then trees, advanced trees here. In trees we have other, again, tries and all that, and then you have DSU and advanced math formulas and all that. And very important, a question like data structure, which is very important for range queries, segment trees. All those things we'll have in the advanced section. So how much time it will take for us? This depends actually. So if someone is very efficient, maybe he might learn the basic structure and all in 3 months to 6 months. And if someone is a bit slow, they can take 6 months. This is just an average time. Yeah, they can be even faster. So this is not the time taken to master it. This is basically the time taken to learn the topic. It's not like if you practice CP for like, if you practice in this order for 6 months, you'll be the next tourist. It's not like that. It's just that this is a structured way that you can begin from very basic to mastering it. So what I personally feel is 4 to 6 months is an ideal time you can actually do really good in competitive programming. And the second most important, like the second most frequently asked question, everyone's doubt, a lot of my friends also have asked me this, that is which language to choose, which programming language to choose. So there are two ways I can answer this. If what 90% of the people would do is, every language is same, just follow any given language, it's fine. It's actually not true. I would personally suggest, if anyone is learning it from the basics and they don't know any programming language and they want to actually learn from the first language, always the gold standard or the diamond standard, the best for competitive programming is always C++. There's no doubt about it. C++ is faster, memory efficient. Even like the topmost programmers, you take tourists, Django, anyone, every single one of them uses C++. Also, there is like, it is optimized for vectors, it's optimized, maps, it's optimized, priority queues are optimized, everything is optimized in CPP. So first priority will always be CPP. And coming to the second option, many people might hate me for saying this, but I would say PyPy3 or Python. The main reason for it is, in Python everything you will get is predefined. Mostly you will get everything predefined, and it's very easy to learn. Like, what Python is basically English the programming can understand. In most, that is what most of the people call it. So with Python, first, it is very easy for you to learn. And then one more thing is, Python with PyPy3 execution will be faster. For example, you'll have in Codeforces and what is the another one, the Chef and all, there is a separate thing called PyPy3, which is direct compilation of Python. There will be some differences there. And then what happens here is, main advantage with Python is, a code which you write for 40 lines or 50 lines in Java, you are writing in Python in just 15 lines, or sometimes even in shorter, even maybe in 10 lines or max 20 lines of code. And this is a major saving of time whenever we are giving contests or anything. And third most important thing, which is a bit which is for advanced people, like, or people who are at least at this point 1500 plus on Codeforces, if you learn optimization, if you learn in Python, you can optimize it in any other language. Especially if you know in Python, you can easily optimize it in C++. Like, if you are able to fit a Python code within the time constraints, obviously you can fit any other language code, like other programming languages used for competitive programming or DSA mostly. That is again C++ and Java. And third option, if you are preparing for company interviews and if your focus is only on DSA for job market, most of the companies prefer Java as their main language. So Java is the gold standard if you are just focusing on DSA for companies. If interviews are your main focus, you can actually go with Java. Again, the Java is not preferred for longer and like contests and all, because of Java's very long, like a lot of lines of code. I mean, simply, like, even to write in Python, you'll just write print, but in Java, system.out.print or system.out.println, which is again a lot. Print and SOP, those are very long. One simple example, and if it's just for pure DSA for interview purpose, then Java is actually a very good choice. It is equally good as the both others. But if it's for CP, any day C++, then comes Python, and then it's Java. So with this, and nobody should again get a doubt of which language should be chosen. I've explained the pros and cons of the major languages, and then if anyone is interested with the upcoming languages, there are languages like Rust and all, which are very fast and memory efficient. Again, if anyone knows those languages, they can also do DSA in that. It has a very high value again. And if you want to learn, you can also learn with C, the basic of everything. But these three are the best choices out of all. And next question, our third question, it was resources. First thing here, resources is a major issue for two kinds of people. One, those who spend their whole time on mobiles or laptops, scrolling reels. And second type of people, it is the ones who actually search for products and get confused when they see which is good and which is bad, or which is like the best one. So if you are doing DSA, like the basic for interview preparation and all, like the basic, if you are starting, there are two series in lead code. That is top 150 for placements or something like that. There is one study material, or you can call it a list, and then one more is top 75. These two lists combined is just 225 questions, and many questions repeat, so it's around 200 questions. Simultaneously doing this list is the best thing if you are preparing for interviews. 225 questions must not take more than what, 3-4 months if you are consistent every single day. So this is the basic for your interviews, and if you are just doing for basic DSA and all. And for competitive programmers, for the CP people, the gold standard or the diamond standard, whatever you call it, it is, you have your CSCS problem set, which is very good actually. Like, you can call it, it will give you all the standard CP algorithms will become very strong with this. And then you have USACO or USSEO, whatever you call it. This is also like, these both are the gold standards. Even if you want to reach till what, like 1600 or even sometimes 1800ish, this resources, not 1800, maybe, yeah, 1700ish, these resources will be more than enough if you are solving it genuinely. And then what else is there? And then you also have another very important YouTube channel, Code with Ranjan. You can follow follow it for CP and the contest reviews and also the tips like this. And then once you are done with this, we all know, like, once someone does CSCS or USACO, you guys will know how you can progress ahead of it. Because if you are in a level of 1500 or 1600 in Code Forces example, then you'll know what you need to do. Solving a question rated 200 or 300 more than what you are currently is the way we practice in general. So that is one best way. Go to Code Forces, put a filter plus 200 or plus 300 if you want, or 300, and start solving those questions. Create virtual contests or gyms, whatever you want, and you can solve. This is the best resources. For pure DSA, it's always lead code, and if you want to do CP, it is always Code Forces. Code Forces is like the undisputed king of this thing. We all know that. And then next question, if we go, the fourth question. There are many platforms: Lead Code, Code Forces, Code Chef, AT Coder. All these things exist. So what does each one fall, or which platform should I practice questions on, and how should I start? With which should I start? This is a very commonly asked question, as per what I have came across at least. So the best way you can do is start with Lead Code, because Lead Code has your standard questions, standard interview question, like whatever you have. You can say, you know that 2 pointers will come in the exam, or for example any other house robbers, or what, like you have a foursome question. You have questions like this which are confirmed, like which are asked many times in interviews. These kinds of standard questions are very common in Lead Code. So Lead Code has all your basics included, and like your basics will be clear with Lead Code. Once you are done with that, you can move to Code Forces, where you get a lot of this is the goal. Like, this is what we have to actually thank Mike for giving this awesome platform for us. Code Forces is like the GOAT platform, undisputed GOAT. You will get every single kind of questions, like standard questions, ad hoc. You will have constructive questions. You'll have interactive. Every single type of questions you'll have on Code Forces. So Code Forces, once you start doing CP, you can start it with Code Forces. Like after 1 or 2 months, 3 months, you're clear that you're sure that you can solve medium questions in lead code, you can come to Code Forces. This is where you can actually, like, what do you say, start with 800 rated questions, and you can increase it. You can go like 800,000 up to 3500 or plus. Also there is rated questions, so you can go till there. If anyone reaches legendary grandmaster and all, they can still pursue till there. So basically how it works is first 1 to 2 months lead code and then Code Forces. AT Coder is again it's also a very good platform for competitive programmers. Many top programmers actually use AT Coder for its different type of questions, unique way of asking questions. And then the fourth question, or fifth question, I guess, the major mistake every single, like most of them do, not every single one of them, the major mistake most of them will do, that is, I watch 80 hours of tutorials, I watched everything, I know DSA full now, I have mastered CP, but I sit to implement, I can't even code one question. I can't even code a single question. So what am I saying here is, you should always remember that watching a 80 hours, 100 hours tutorial is of no point if you are not practicing simultaneously. So what I would say is, if you watched 1 hour of tutorial, you should practice 10 hours of questions. For example, you watched a video on two pointers, so you should solve at least some 10-15 questions on 2 pointers, so that any given way, at least some 10 hours, which neutralizes it, 15 to 20 questions initial stage, so that any given way, any twisted way they give you a 2 pointers question, you will be able to solve it. So this is your first, like, this is how you need to solve, not blindly follow any tutorials. And then 1:10 is my personally prioritized ratio, or many times heard on 1:15 for difficult topics like graphs and segment trees. And recently I've been working on entities, entity algorithm and all, entity and FTT. So sometimes if the topic is hard, go for 1:15 ratio, or if you are going for problem wise, again I don't prefer problem count, so I won't even say that. So always keep in your mind, problem counter is not gonna matter. And next question, again this is about the basic. If you are starting, these are whatever I told till now are the starters problem, or the pre-starters problems. And now what I'll say is the problems which the people in the beginning stage, or we can call them beginners, what they face. The first important thing is, recently when someone asked me how to tackle this approach, so what they asked me, this was a question I picked from my Instagram. What they asked me was, I can understand the logic, I can understand the approach, but I can't write code. Why is this happening? How can I sort this? So for this, the main issue you have is implementation gap. That is because, first thing, lack of solving questions, lack of practice is basically the main reason for this. So what you need to do here is, first thing, dry run it on a paper, dry run on paper, write your code, write pseudo code, write pseudocode or dry run, use pen paper or whatever, like if you're comfortable with notepad or OneNote, whatever, use it, write the pseudocode, and like you'll understand. For example, greatest number, you have to go on comparing. Now how you will do this is, if basically in your dry run or pseudocode, what you will do here is current and current versus max, will compare these two and will get the maximum value. So you write this first and then write the pseudocode, and then finally you will easily able to code. If pseudocode is given, yeah, everyone can code. If not, then your language basics, bro, you need to work on it. Language basics and syntax, and then code finally. So this is the first thing. And second thing, this is a issue which someone who has been doing DSA from, like, what you can say, 3 months or 2-3 months, these kinds of people, what they face, they know that what they are solving, like they know basics, concepts clear, everything. So for them the major issue is, I read a question. Oh my god. One second. And then what is memory constraint? It will be somewhere around 256 MB. And then time is 1 second. So if time is 1 second, and then numerical, this is limits. I'm sorry. First you need to focus on your limits and constraints. These are your limits. And now focus on constraints. You have n less than equal to 10 power 5, or you have n less than equal to 10 power 9 or 10 power 8, and sometimes 10 power 12 or 13 also, sometimes, very rarely. If you have something like this, what you need to do? Just a second, guys. So here, the first very important thing is, when you see the constraints, if it is 10 power 5, I'll tell it with memory firstly. First, memory, it's easy to understand. In Python, we'll set a recursion limit. If you know Python, for example, set recursion limit. Set recursion limit. System.sys.sys.set recursion limit, and you'll write a number, commonly 2 lakh or 3 lakh. If it's 256 MB memory, definitely you are gonna get a memory limit exceeded in this within the second or third test case. If you are on code forces, you will 100% know this. Within the first 2 test cases, you will get a MLE, memory limit exceeded. So you need to reduce this. For example, recursion sometimes is not needed. I'm just giving an example for how memory limit affects. Now, coming to time limit, the most important thing, constraints, how it work. If that's n is 10 power 5 or less, here what? Your n square is gonna fail. Why n square will fail? N square is gonna take 10. N square is gonna fail because it's gonna take 10 power 10 operations, which is not possible to fit in one single second. So here, if it's 10 power 5, it's very clear that you have to go for O of n log n. So basically, how many things will get cancelled out here. So what you need to do here is either sorting or priority queue or something like that only you need to use. You can't use any naive methods, basic. You can't just do some array manipulation and get the answer. Now, if the constraint is for n is 10 power 9, in this case, how will you do? This is a very in 1 second time limit. This is actually a very high constraint, which you will see in that higher order code forces questions in general. So in this case, you should either find O of 1 or O of log n. For that, commonly what, like, you will have binary search, or you will have range queries, segment trees, Fenwick trees. All those things will, especially binary search and segment trees, these things will come. So once you are able to find out the time complexity, especially time complexity, because memory we can grab pen, paper, or whatever, notepad, whichever you are comfortable. You can just write the pseudocode, figure out how it's running, like, so basically here what happens is, you pick a hard lead code question, it takes you 2 hours. You very well know that if it was a easy question, in 2 hours you do 10 questions. But then what is the point of doing the same easy question 12 questions when you know that you can any day solve them? So when you are investing 2 or 3 hours on a single question, hard question, you are actually being more productive. For this also, again, as I said, we should not rush to simple conclusions unless we are in the last 20 minutes of a contest and we are in such a situation that if I'm losing rating today, it is gonna be a very big thing for me. Unless you are in that situation, you should never worry about this. So what you need to, like, there will be 2-3 things which we can follow whenever you are solving a hard question and getting blank. First thing, I already explained, constraints. Check for constraints. First thing, check for constraints. Check if one dimension is better, or 2D arrays, or if you can, like, 2D arrays, grid matrix, or binary search, which thing can be used based on constraints. And then try you have a sample test case. You have sample test case given. With that, you have the final output given. So from output, backtrack, or should I say reverse engineer. So reverse engineer to the test case. So how you are getting this output. With this, you'll get the formula. If it's a math based question, you'll get the formula or whatever you need here. And then try visualizing the code for trees and all. Trees, or try graph data structures or graphs. Try visualize them. And then the next thing you have to do is, if you are still able to do nothing, just close it, take a 5 minutes break, come back again, start. This time you should be able to do, because if we are continuously stuck in a loop, I believe that competitive programming or DSA grind is very, tilt based, that if you are solving 2 or 3 questions wrong continuously, you're gonna get into a zone where even if you know the question, you'll go on solving it wrong. So take a small break, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then again try solving it. If you are still not able, then you can go look for editorials and not copy paste. You can learn, understand the code from there. And the next question, I guess the 10th question, like, what is the ideal time to solve a question? Ideal time. So if you want my honest answer, there is nothing called an ideal time, because I'll give you a best example. There are some people whom I know, I have seen personally, for whom they say that DP is easier, because DP is just, for many people I have seen that if you understand how to make the table, you know how to write the whole tabular DP code. And then there are a lot of people who struggle a lot with graphs, including me. I many times have struggled with graphs and interactive questions. So those kinds of questions demand a lot of time. And even in the top elite level of programmers, we have heard tourists saying a lot of times that interactive questions many times will actually make him suffer in a lot of contests. So there is not but then when we are learning the new topics or the basic codes, 30 to 40 minutes or 1 hour per code, if it's a hard question, is valid in the initial stages. This doesn't mean that you give for a two sum question you spend 1 hour. That means you seriously need to know theory way first. So if it's a hard question, even if it's house robber or if it's what n queens or max rogues possible, if any question like that, I'm saying lead code questions. If it's something like that, you can give 45 minutes or 1 hour in the initial stages. And then again you can like take again, as I said, you can take 5-10 minutes break and try again. If that also is not working, you always have the option of checking editorial. Please check editorial, understand it, and then implement it from scratch. From scratch. No copy paste. Copy paste banned. In the whole DSA journey, the only time you should copy paste is when you have a segmentary's whole or DSU's whole logic written, what do you say, the base code written, and you want to implement it in your code during a contest, and you are in an advanced level. You'll have all the standards like VS Code, you know, right? For example, save it as header or you'll save it as DSU. The whole thing will come. So if you have something like that, that is the only time you'll paste it. If not, there's no other time where you will be copy pasting in DSA. Never. So implement it from scratch. You'll understand it, and then again analyze this question, how it came and all that things. So next thing, 10th or 11th question, how to identify patterns, algos, how to identify patterns or algorithms. So basically, if we give a book, it is basically completely on practice, because if someone has solved 5,000 questions, 3,000 questions, obviously, I mean properly again, obviously he knows which time to put which algorithm, which time to use which pattern, is it following any patterns, or can it be optimized with math. All those things are known by people who have solved questions, not for the numbers sake, for learning sake. So for this, what you can do is you can just create like a diary or keep a note of which problems you have solved. There are a lot of questions like platforms where you can do, like there's this Excel also, we can make a note, and then you can write it on a pen paper, or like if you are comfortable, many people prefer pen paper, so yeah, you can do that. And also you have Notion or something like that, right? All those things come. First preference is greedy. Many people who are actually like who are decent. So basically these are the ways you can actually work on it. Like these are some standard examples I give. And then dry run. How to dry run. The next question I'll go how to dry run and verify if my answer is wrong or not before submission. So you can either track the code, like trace the code on paper or wherever you are comfortable, and like you can index the array manually, check the loops line by line, you can go, and then check for memory, computer memory. You can do that. That is the best way. And then you have to manually check for edge cases. For example, empty array. If they have asked you find the largest element in the given array and return -1 if the array is empty. In this case, if we miss this edge case, we'll get a wrong answer in particular test case where the array is empty. So for this, manually you have to check the edge cases always. Edge cases manually. very important thing, because edge cases are the ones which will always destroy our whole code logics. So next thing is, if many people, they know that if they have started to do initial time, runtime error, segmentation fault, all this are very common. Even many times when we do it, after like solving a lot of questions, even then we do get runtime errors. We have seen, if you are aware of the code forces, the blitz cup of code forces, we have seen the best of best programmers getting runtime errors or WAs and all those things. So what you can do for runtime errors or segmentation faults is, first main reason of getting it is out of bounds, array out of bounds, and then garbage value, and then all like the math, like zero division, like division by zero, all that things, the math should be checked. And then very importantly, infinite recursion should be stopped. These are the four main things. And one more thing is, check for variable names. Sometimes variable names, somewhere you would have used CNT for count, and somewhere you would use CNT with small letter, like one small example just to show. So check for variable names. This, except these things, you won't get these kinds of errors anywhere else. And mean, there are possibilities, but then commonly this is where you will get the errors. So focus on these parts of your code. And then one more thing is, I get a lot of TLEs. How should I optimize? TLE, how to optimize my code. So first thing is, how I pursue TLE is, if I'm getting a TLE on test case 2, I'm telling for code forces this thing. So if I'm getting a test case 2, I'm getting a TLE. I'm like, this most probably it won't happen. So yeah, this means that what the code I've written is a blunder. I have to change the whole approach. This is a very naive approach or worst approach I could have done. So if I'm getting a TC in some 30th test case or something, if I'm getting a time limit exceeded there, which means my code is 100% proper, it's 100% logical. Only some overheads if I cut, if I limit the arrays, or if I limit some recursion, or if I limit the looping in an array, somewhere the remaining 4 or 5 or the 10 test cases will clear. So this is one way I pursue it. So if you are getting it beyond some 10th or 12th test case, which means your code is good, you just need to optimize a bit of overheads. So how can you do here is, you can check if it is simply a loop you are checking, like in a inner loop you are just checking a number, you can simply use a hash map or a hash set, so that your O of n becomes O of 1 directly. And then you know this very important thing, sorting. So you should know that whenever you are sorting the array, if you use binary search on it on log n, or for example if you are comparing every single element, it will be n square, but then there is no need of it. We'll be using the better sorting techniques like quicksort or merge sort. So in that situations, after that, if you directly use binary search, we are gonna reduce the total time complexity from O of n square to O of n log n. And then again, window fixing for sliding windows or prefix sums is also a very important thing which we need to note. If we are calculating subarrays over, like, for a constant time, we can use prefix sums or a sliding window, and we can calculate the range of sums. For example, many times we might have seen that if we have to find a sum. Will first itself will declare an array or prefix some array, or prefix some if it's 2 3 elements sum will take that variables, will define all like 130, next 190, next 250,